Back with you, another Purple Insider Extra. I'm Sam Ekstrom, in for Matthew Collar, who's making his way back from the NFL Combine in Indianapolis. Second straight day, I'm joined by Paul Hodowanic, a.k.a. Intern Paul. Not really an intern anymore. He's got a big boy job, but we still affectionately call you Intern Paul. What's up, Intern Paul?
It's what everyone knows me by, so I think I may still be 50 and people may know me as Intern Paul, and that is just fine with me. I'm doing really good, Sam. Happy to continue to talk about this offseason. I'm really excited.
Yeah, and I feel like the dominoes are going to start falling here pretty soon now that all the GMs, the decision makers, have had a chance to meet in Indianapolis and get those conversations rolling, maybe over some cocktails, to see when these quarterbacks are going to start moving. In addition, all these GMs have gotten a chance to talk to these quarterback prospects, right? So they are getting an idea for, okay, we can get someone in the first round that we like. There are these quarterbacks available. Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, for instance, mentioning that this isn't as weak a quarterback class as you might presume. So I feel like now that teams have an idea of their draft board, they might feel more comfortable shipping quarterbacks via trade, what have you. So, Paul, my question to you is, which quarterback is going to be that first domino to fall on this crazy quarterback market that we're facing?
Yeah, my answer is not what I would have said 3 weeks ago, a month ago, 2 months ago. I think in general, in these types of things, you wait for the big domino to fall because everyone's going for that big guy, and then they kind of settle around that. But I don't know if those big names we thought were moving are going to move anymore. And so for that reason, I think Jimmy Garoppolo might be the first quarterback traded. I think he is the most obvious one that is on the trade block that is going to get moved. The 49ers are not shy about that fact. He's really not going to be on the team next year. They're going to start Trey Lance unless you believe in some Tom Brady rumor. And so they're going to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo. And so I think that could be a domino that falls, because at this point, I don't believe Aaron Rodgers is moving on from Green Bay. I don't really believe Russell Wilson's leaving the Seahawks based on what we're saying or what we're hearing. Pete Carroll at the Combine said not interested in trading him. Obviously, could just be saying that, but I'm going to, at this point, take him for his word. And then I don't think Kyler Murray is going anywhere quite yet. Maybe Deshaun Watson, but that feels like just an interesting first guy to drop. If you're going to go after one of those heavy hitters, I'd expect maybe you're going after Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson before you want to take on the off-field issues that are Deshaun Watson. And so for that reason, I'm not sure any of them are moving, or at least moving right away. And so I'm going to go with the most obvious name, the guy we know is getting moved, because I think that might just be, it's the only guy we feel really good about. So that's who I'm going to say goes first. And then maybe one of those other guys moves later in the offseason. Maybe Kirk moves after that, but I'll go Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, you raise a really good point that Aaron Rodgers is stalling the quarterback market, because let's think about it. If you're Denver, you've got Nathaniel Hackett as your coach. Your GM is on record as saying that you're a 10 out of 10 looking for a quarterback. So they're going after a quarterback, and they'd prefer a good one. Aren't you going to wait till Aaron Rodgers decides? Of course you are. And that changes everything, because you've got other teams, maybe like the Vikings, that are sitting there wondering what the going rate is going to be. Is Aaron Rodgers going to, command 3 first-round picks? Is Jimmy Garoppolo going to command a first-round pick? They want to see what Kirk Cousins is worth in theory on the market. And I think it's just a staring contest right now. Everybody's waiting on their thumbs for this to happen. Meanwhile, the clock is ticking. We're getting to free agency here. It's less than 2 weeks away. Teams want to know what their budgets are, and they haven't unloaded any quarterbacks yet. So it's either going to be a complete standstill or a wild flurry. I would agree with you that Jimmy Garoppolo is probably the most vulnerable, because there's been an openness to trading him very, publicly and frontally. They've been discussing it. I get the sense that Carson Wentz is on his way out too. And that's, I would say, a smaller fish than Jimmy Garoppolo, and probably on the same level, or maybe even a bit smaller than Baker Mayfield, to be honest with you. The way that Carson Wentz has played the past couple of years, I'm not sure that he's even in the top 5 of the quarterbacks that we're discussing on this market. He's struggled toward the end in Philadelphia so badly, and was propped up by an insanely good running game in Indianapolis. but was really, really weak. I can't see Indianapolis hitching themselves to Wentz for another year or more. I just don't know what they have waiting in the wings. I mean, I know that Jacob Eason is on the roster, but I don't think they really have a quarterback they're passionate about sitting there with for that offense. So I think Wentz is certainly under scrutiny. I agree with you on Garoppolo. What do you think about Kyler Murray, Paul? Do you think he's on the move?
I just with how much team control he has left, I don't feel like they're in a position to move on from him quickly. Like they could wait this out, kind of push it down the road. Is he going to hold out? What is he going to do? How mad is he? How much does he want off the team? And so that feels like a situation where maybe he could get moved this year, but it doesn't feel like he's going to be the first domino to fall. That one feels like that one's going to take some time. That one's going to kind of have to get worked out a little bit more before that happens, because they aren't in a position where they need to make a decision right away. Yes, he wants an extension early on in his rookie deal, but he's also under contract for a long time. And so that to me just doesn't really have the characteristics of someone who is going to get moved first. What do you think?
I get the sense that Arizona would kick themselves if they let that guy walk. There's just too much arm talent, too much leg talent to allow someone like that to leave after really their breakout year. I mean, it's not as if Kyler Murray kind of pulled a Carson Wentz, right, where he was excellent in that first year and then faded after that. No, he's still ascending. I think he's still getting better, and I think that you could maybe stand to tweak some things around him offensively, but that's too talented of a quarterback, I think, to let walk. I think you have to meet his demands, and maybe he's a little bit of a diva. Maybe there's some prima donna aspects to that, but I think when you have as much raw talent as he does, and remember that team started 10-2 last year, I think you have to try to make it work. Arizona gave up on Josh Rosen after 1 year to go get this guy. And they got so much out of him, by year 3, which is exactly what you want. He's on the cheap deal. You were on the path that every team desires. So when you're faced with having to kind of ante up and pay the piper, I think that you have to listen to this guy that is a pretty important part of your franchise. Let me toss out one more name to you, Paul. Will Deshaun Watson play football anywhere next year?
It's so hard because you just don't know what's going to happen with the off-field stuff. But I say yes. I think he will play, or he's at least going to get moved, I think, this year. Some team who's going to strike out, or Aaron Rodgers is not going to play, or is not going to move teams. Maybe someone else gets Russell Wilson or something like that. And some team is going to be desperate, like Carolina or some other team, and they're going to say, we'll take him on before even he is 100% going to be on this team. It's a risk that we need to take based on the talent that he has. And so I think he gets moved probably at some point this offseason. I don't think it's first. I think that one, again, is kind of after maybe you've struck out somewhere else. And I think he does play at some point next season. What are you kind of thinking about that?
Yeah, I think that whether this is right or wrong, time can change a lot of people's opinions. So if there's a team that was adamantly anti-Deshaun last year because of the off-field stuff, there hasn't been a lot of noise legally around Watson of late. And I think that's going to alleviate some teams' concerns. And I think that Houston is in a position where they would like to get something for that player. And he is a good player. So once again, it comes back to that logjam that Rodgers is starting. If Rodgers doesn't get moved, or if Rodgers doesn't make a decision, then it's hard for teams to really get the ball rolling. Like once one piece moves, it's going to open up holes elsewhere. And that's where I think the more movement there is, I think the more likely Deshaun Watson is part of it. And the less movement there is, obviously, the less likely he is to get moved. But I do get the sense that he is going to get moved as well. And I've got no intel on that. I just think that, the NFL takes risks when there's talent involved. If there's a character concern, it gets balanced out by the possible, gamble paying off that this guy is really good and stays out of trouble. So I think teams would be willing to take a risk on this guy. Good stuff, Paul, talking about this crazy offseason ahead on Purple Insider Extra. He's Paul Hodowanic. I'm Sam Ekstrom. PurpleInsider.com for all of your Purple Insider content.